Hey, Trojan family, what's up? Welcome back to the USC LAFB show. I'm your host, Ryan Dyrud. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and making this a part of your day. Quick update, quick coaching update. No, it's not the defensive coordinator update you're all hoping for, although I think that should be coming soon. Don't exit out of this yet. This will be quick because it is important still. Remember, a week or so ago, defensive ends coach Sean Nua, was linked, rumored, talked about, whatever adjective you want to use, tied in to the potential BYU defensive coordinator, what was thought to be, well, now it was open, but at the time, Jay Hill was the DC. It was talked about that Kyle Whittingham was going to steal Jay Hill to bring to his Michigan staff. And so the Coach Nua's name popped up as an alumni of BYU and as a candidate to be their next defensive coordinator. So that was the chatter. It wasn't like, much more than that, but it was, it made sense. And obviously I think he would be a big loss, but, great promotion for him going to his alma mater. Like, it's a promotion. Like, you don't blame anyone for a promotion. It's one thing to move laterally, then there's questions, but when it's a promotion, yeah, no brainer. I get it. So that was kind of the thought. Jay Hill officially did get hired by Michigan. So then the position became open a few days ago. And so then it was like, okay, what's going to happen here? We're already in the midst of a DC search. Is the DC wanting to bring in their whole new staff anyway? So would that matter? Is USC and Lincoln Riley trying to keep the entire defensive staff in place regardless of who the DC is? And that's one of their non-negotiables. That's been what we've talked about a lot. So there was just a lot of some conversation, more internal conversation, at least in my head, of like, okay, what is this really going to look like? And what is Coach Nua going to look like if he ends up leaving? Like, do they end up bringing in another defensive end coach, or would they just have one defensive line coach like a lot of programs have? Like, not every program has two defensive line coaches. Some programs have one D-line coach, two linebacker coaches, one inside, one outside. So, I mean, you can do a lot of different things. So that was kind of the thing. Last night, I believe it broke we during our live stream. I was live at 7 p.m. Pacific, maybe a little bit before that I missed, but someone on the live stream brought it up as we were talking about it. So shout out to you, but I at least wanted to get on here and just kind of say it as well. But BYU ultimately decides to promote from within, and they promote Kelly Papinga, who was their special teams coordinator and defensive ends coach, to their defensive coordinator. So that that absolutely takes Coach Nua out of the race for the BYU job. He posted on X right after of the hire, quote tweeting, Pete Thamel, well-deserved and earned, my brother, go dominate. So I don't know if Coach Nua interviewed for the job. I don't know if it was more of just media speculation. That I don't know, unfortunately. But this obviously means that Coach Nua is not going to BYU. Now, there still could be a shakeup at USC. We're still waiting. The dominoes can't fall until a DC is officially named and hired. I've said not all along, but lately it really seems like there is some sort of plan in place. You don't have all these transfer portal defensive commits. You don't make all these recruiting visits with your defensive staff sitting in homes of parents if there is no clarity, no plan, no reality that they could be there in a week or 2 weeks. So to me, there seemingly is some sort of plan in place, at least of like an A, B, and C that all kind of connect the dots in some way. But as of now, we do know Coach Nua not going to BYU and is remaining, never left, the defensive end coach at USC. So just want to quickly note, take this for whatever you want, but for those that are against an in-house hire, against a Henne, against a Belk, well, Belk is a little different because he did call plays, but against a Henne because he's never been a true DC before outside of the bowl game, Kelly Papinga. Now, I'm not saying BYU is USC, but BYU is a P4 school that was ranked higher at the end of the year and closer to the college football playoff, is being promoted to DC without, to my knowledge, any true defensive play calling to his resume. He was a co-defensive coordinator at Virginia, but I don't believe maybe there was some involvement, maybe a game here or there, obviously involved in the scheme, as Coach Henne is. But to my knowledge, was never like a true play calling DC. This will be his first stint on the job. So I'm not trying to draw comparisons there. Just saying, take that for what you want. That, if you feel like the guy is right and you feel like he's going to catch the ear of your defense and you feel like he knows the schematics and knows how to call the schematics, then you give the guy the opportunity. And that's what Coach Satake and BYU is doing with Poppinga. We will see if Coach Riley does that with Henny. And like I said, Belka already was a DC for 2 years with Houston, so that's a little different. Now, I'll talk more DC later today. I'm going to kind of talk some candidates that maybe haven't been talked about yet that I'm kind of circling about a little bit. So some more, not necessarily intel, but just more kind of my thoughts on that. So we'll dive more into that. But just to wrap this up, like to me, if it was internal, I don't know why it wouldn't have been done already. That's the only thing that's kind of leading me that's not that, like unless they're just still interviewing. And maybe they interviewed and they want to interview a few more guys and then make a decision after the whole thing. Remember, this GM search for Chad Bowden took a long time. And everyone was getting uneasy. And everyone was like, man, what's taking so long? Ultimately, they got a home run hire in Chad Bowden. So sometimes as much as we want things to be hasty, as much of it's like, hey, we're in the portal, like we need this guy done now, sometimes patience is a virtue, as they say, as I try to tell my daughter every day. And then I sit myself, I'm like, man, I have no patience either. Sometimes patience is a virtue. Sometimes it's not, and you miss out. So I'm not sitting here saying one is better than the other right now, but, just playing both sides. So we'll see. But I'll be back on later talking more of that. But as of now, just a little tidbit. Coach Nua, not going to BYU. They make their defensive coordinator hire, so he will remain with USC for the time being. Rightfully so. Love Coach Nua. I think he's a really good coach. We got to see more out of those edge positions, out of those pass rushers. But I do think he's a really good coach. I think he's a good developer. He's a really good recruiter. He's really locked in and tied into the Polynesian community, which is huge for USC and SoCal recruiting. So I think this is overall a really good thing in my opinion. Drop your comments below. What do you think about this? And then, yes, I'll be back on later talking more defensive coordinator as we hopefully get to the finish line here soon. So appreciate you, family, as always. Fight on. Hey, Trojan family, thank you so much for hanging out and watching the USC LAFB show. Before you go, let me tell you quickly about our friends over at Sleeper. Go right now, download the Sleeper app. It's the #1 sports app, not just for season-long fantasy, but they've got live pickers, they've got live stat updates, they've got a chat. You can chat with other users, plus the daily pick'em, which is a blast, or daily fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You go and pick 2 to 8 players across any sports. If you're talking USC, go choose J.D. Maiava in his next matchup. Pick more or less passing yards, more or less touchdowns. You stack those, and you can win real money. When you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code USCLAFB. You're going to get a match deposit up to $100. Put in $100, you get $100 free to play with from Sleeper. Put in $10, they'll match you that $10. So now you're sitting at $20 to play with. But also right now, for any new users, no deposit required. You get $20 free entry. You can stack both. You can get the $20 for free. Go make a deposit. Use USC LAFB. And now you've got a bunch of free money to play with right there on the Sleeper app. Check it out, Trojan family. And when you do, tell them the guys at the USC LAFB sent you.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.